to Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rachakadash. Yahweh's name, the Heavenly Father, the Most High. It means He is. Yahushai is the name of His Son. It means He is who saves. Rachakadash is the name of the Holy Spirit in Hebrew. This is a reading from the letter of Jeremiah. A copy, Jeremiah verse 1, a copy of an epistle which Jeremy sent unto them, which were led captives into Babylon to be king by the king of Babylonians, to certify them, as it was commanded him of God. Because of the sins which ye have committed before God, ye shall be led away captives into Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Babylonians. So when ye come unto Babylon, ye shall remain there many years, and for a long season, namely 7 generations, and after that I will bring you away peaceably from thence. Now ye shall see in Babylon gods of silver and of gold and of wood borne upon the shoulders, which cause the nations to fear. Be therefore that... So this is like the gods of silver and of gold. You know, you can say, you know, when everybody's like looking on, like saying, oh my God, look at your Gucci watch or your belt or your car or your whip, that, you know, people be just worshipping on, not worshipping, but, you know, admiring people for that. You know, if only I can get those grills or whatever it is, the ring, the diamonds, the chain, you know, anything that people give reverence to, you know, and borne upon shoulders, and of wood, you know, it could be a house, borne upon shoulders, which will cause the nations to fear. Beware therefore that ye in no wise be like to strangers, neither be ye and of them, when ye see the multitude before them and behind them worshipping them. So when other people are just like all inspired by a star, or by somebody's jewelry, or by somebody's diamonds, or by somebody's watch, by somebody's car, you don't need to be like them. You don't be, you know, that's not you. You have to be somewhere else doing something different. But say ye in your hearts, O Lord, we must worship thee, for mine angel is with you, and I myself caring for your souls. As for their tongue, it is polished by the workmen, and they themselves are gilded and laid over with silver, yet they are false and cannot speak. So when they're saying the tongue is polished by the workman, it's like you get that smooth finish from working on, you know, when a workman, you know, uses the sandpaper and the extra fines to get that smooth finish, right? So their tongues are polished. They say the right things. They're very good at talking, you know. All the gentry or the superstars or the politicians are very smooth. They have very good manner, eloquent. They can build rapport, but they may be gilded. That is to be covered in gold, or gilded in a precious metal. So they may be gilded like they may be covered in diamonds or all this expensive stuff. But they're false and cannot speak. So anything that comes out of anything that comes out of these gods' mouths are not, you know, the gods can't actually speak. And taking gold as it were for a virgin that loveth to go gay, they make crowns for the heads of the gods. So, you know, like as a young woman, remember we understand that virgin in the translation means young woman, can be maiden, then, but to go gay is not to not to go gay as they would say in these days, but more along the lines of who wants to make herself look beautiful and carefree, you know. So yeah, so like if a woman might want to make herself look carefree, she might give herself like a nice hat or something, you know, to make herself look good and get more attention. They make crowns for the heads of their gods, you know, so they want to get their gods more attention. Sometimes also the priests convey from their gods gold and silver and bestow it upon themselves. So it's just basically saying now the priests are taking the gold and silver that people are offering to these gods, and convey is a nice word because it means basically steal, embezzle. Yea, they that give their own to the common harlots and deck them as men with garments, being gods of silver and gods of gold and wood. So the priests are going out and using the gold that people are offering to the gods to sleep with prostitutes. Yet cannot these gods save themselves from rust and moth, though they be covered with purple raiment? Yeah, purple's the color of royalty. So even though this idol is arrayed like a king and it has all of the money, it can't even stop itself from rusting. You know, it can't even stop itself from getting a craft on it. Let alone be all powerful to do whatever you want. You know, you're praying to these false worship, these false idols to do. They wipe their faces because of the dust of the temple when there's much upon them, and he cannot put to death one that offendeth him. Put to death one that offendeth him, holdeth a sceptre as though he was a judge of the country. And he that cannot put to death one that offended him holdeth a sceptre as if he was a judge of a country. So, saying that this God that you've made look like a king that has all powerful, because the sceptre was the ornament of a king, right? It was the attire of a king that showed his power. That you put the sceptre on the god, but like anybody can walk up to the god and say anything, and it can't do anything about it. He hath also in his right hand a dagger and an axe, but cannot deliver himself from war and thieves. Yeah, so he's got in these. Trying to think, like maybe talking about the god Thor or something, or the god of Mars, the god of war, or any of these Greek gods that have tridents and all these kind of weapons in their hands. They can't do anything. They can't go to war, can't deliver themselves from war. They can't even fight. They can't defend themselves. Whereby they are known not to be gods, fear them not. For like a vessel that a man uses is nothing worth when it is broken, even so it is with their gods. When they be set up in the temple, their eyes be full of dust through the feet of them that come in, and the doors are made sure on every side hit upon him that offendeth the king, as being committed to suffer death. Even so the priests make fast their temples with doors with locks and bars, lest the gods be spoiled with robbers. Yeah, so this god, they lock the god up at the end of the day, so that to protect him. How is it a god that needs to be protected from man? So that's what he's saying there. Just stupidness, foolishness. They light them candles, yea, more than for themselves, whereof they cannot see. So they're lighting candles. Obviously, even in those days, the candles were a source of light to help you see, right? But they're lighting candles for these gods that cannot see. They're as one of the beams of the temple, yet they say their hearts are gnawed upon by things creeping out of the earth, and when they eat them and their clothes, they feel it not. Yeah, so their faces are black through the smoke that cometh out of the temple. Upon their bodies and heads sit bats, swallows, and birds. So Jeremiah just going in, man. He was just basically just saying, look, the bats poo in there. The priests are taking the money. They have to close the doors, dust on and you go in there and worshiping this foolish thing. Notwithstanding the gold that is about them to make them beautiful, except they wipe off the rust, they will not shine, for neither when they were molten did they feel it. The things wherein there is no breath are bought for a high price. They are borne upon shoulders, having no feet, that whereby they declare unto men that they are nothing worth. They also that serve them are ashamed. So basically, is just saying, like, look, you can see they're openly declaring that that you're rubbish as a god if you cannot stand on your own feet. So they also that serve them are ashamed. Even the people that are serving the gods are ashamed. For if they fall to the ground at any time, they cannot rise up again of themselves. Neither if one sent them upright can they move of themselves. Neither if they be bowed down can they make themselves straight. But they set gifts before them as unto dead men. As for the things that are sacrificed upon them, their priests sell and abuse. In a like manner, their wives lay up part thereof in salt, but unto the poor and impotent they give nothing of it. So The priests are selling it, like, so you're giving all these things into the temple, and the priests are using it to sell, um, on the, on the street, or they're using it to get drunk, or you know what I mean, all this kind of mad stuff. I'm not sure about the wise lay up part thereof in salt. So it looks like they're basically like, once they've sold the things, they're like, back in the day, salt was a currency, right? So when they're laying up part thereof, that means they're putting aside. So they're getting rich off of you, basically. They're not just selling it, spending all the money in the temple. They're laying a little bit aside, for a rainy day. They're getting their riches on. Menstruous women and women in childbed eat their sacrifices. By these things ye may not know that they are gods. Fear them not. For how can they be called gods? Because women set meat before gods of silver, gold, and wood. And the priests sit in their temples, having their clothes rent and their heads and beards shaven, and nothing upon their heads. They roar and cry before their gods, as men do at the feast when one is dead. So obviously, when if you've seen some kind of traditional sort of Afro-Caribbean weddings, sometimes and in other cultures, it can get a bit dramatic when someone's, they kind of, some people make a lot of noise. Whether it be evil that one doeth unto them, or good, they are not able to recompense it. They neither can set up a king nor put it down. In like manner, they can neither give riches nor money though a man make a vow unto them and keep it not, they will not require it. So they can't even pay back. Like, you can break your vows against these gods, they're rubbish. They can save no man from death, neither deliver the weak from mighty. They cannot restore a blind man to his sight, nor help any man in his distress. They can show no mercy to the widow, nor do good to the fatherless. The gods of wood, which they are overlaid with gold and silver, are like the stones that be hewn out of the mountain. They that worship them shall be confounded. Like, it's true, and there is a lot of confounded traditional Christians. They're just like, what the hell? I've been praying all my life, I ain't got nothing, and now my dog's dead and my wife left me and my house burned down. They don't get it. How should a man then think and say that they are gods, when even the Chaldeans themselves dishonor them? Who if they shall see one dumb that cannot speak, they bring him and entreat Baal that he may speak, as though he were able to understand? Yet they cannot understand this themselves, and leave them, for they have no knowledge. The women also with cords about them, sitting in the ways, burn brand for perfume. But if any of them, drawn by some that passeth by, lie with him, she reproach her fellow, that she was not thought of as worthy as herself, nor her cord broken. Don't quite get that. I need to go into that deeper. Whatsoever is done among them is false. How may it be thought or said that they are gods? They that make carpenters and goldsmiths, they are made of carpenters and goldsmiths. They can be nothing else than the workmen will have them be. And they themselves that made them can never continue long. How should then the things that are made of them be gods? Yeah, so that is to say, the carpenters and the woodmen, the carpenters and the goldsmiths and all that sort of stuff that made these idols, they don't live forever. So how can, and yet they are not as powerful. They cannot do anything more. In fact, they can only do stuff that's less than the people that made them. So how can you consider them gods? For they left lies and reproaches to them that come after. For when cometh any war or plague upon them, the priests consult with themselves where they may be hidden from them. So these priests, and you know what? Jeremiah goes in, because these priests and these pastors, they've been ripping people off for centuries. It's one of the oldest games in the book. How then can men perceive them that they be no gods, which can neither save themselves from war nor from plague? For seeing that they be but of wood, and overlaid with silver and gold, it shall be known hereafter that they are false, and it shall be shall manifestly appear to all nations and kings that there are no gods but the works of men's hands, and there's no work of God in them. Who then may not know that they are no gods? For neither can they set up a king on the land, nor give rain unto men. Neither can they judge their own cause, nor redress a wrong, being unable, for they are as crows between heaven and earth. Whereupon, when fire falleth on the house of gods of wood, or laid over with gold or silver, the priests will flee away and escape, but they themselves shall be burned asunder like beams. So like a beam is like, just a stiff piece of wood, right? Like as thick as a plank. You know when people say you're as thick as a plank? It's the same as that, how they used to run them by saying, oh, you're like a beam, you're back in the old days. Moreover, they cannot withstand any king or enemies. How can it be thought or said that they shall be gods? Neither are those gods of wood and laid about with silver or gold able to escape from thieves and robbers. Yeah, because if you think about it, back in the day, we in the Holy of Holies, in the temple that belonged to the Jews, where the mercy seat, and the sitting place of God was where God would come. There was no idol necessary, because God would be in the temple. There was no need to worship a representation of God, because if you walked in there, you'll find out how real the God is. The God of the Jews sat and resided in the temple, and it was especially necessary to make sure you were especially clean and you were free of sin, and you've done the required sort of scapegoating or the required rituals to purify yourself of sin before you come before the mercy seat. And God was very real, because they used to have bells around them, right? The Levitical priests, and if the priests weren't properly cleansed before going in there, the God would strike them down. Or not even that he would strike them down, they would just be burned up by his presence, because sin cannot exist where God is. So it's funny, because the Jews, they never really had a symbol or a molten image of God in the temple, because he didn't need it. He was there. His gold and silver garments wherewith they are clothed, they that are strong take and go away withal, neither are they able to keep for themselves. Therefore, so you can just rip the clothes off of God and leave a God naked. What kind of God is that? Therefore, it's better to be a king that sheweth his power, or else a profitable vessel in the house which the owner shall have use of, than such false gods. So, if you're going to have a big temple, right, use it as a house, maybe turn it into a restaurant, make it into a bar, make it into a place where you can make money. But when you're going to put a big dumb statue sitting there, it doesn't make sense. To keep such things therein than such false gods, or a pillar of wood in the palace than such false gods. So yeah, even a pillar of wood is better than a god, because at least it helps hold the roof up, right? Those things are just useless. For the sun and the moon and stars being bright and sent to their offices and their obedience. So they have a purpose to serve, right? The sun, moon and stars. In like manner, the lightning, when it breaketh forth, is easy to be seen, and after the same manner the wind bloweth in every country. And when God commandeth the clouds to go over the whole world, they do as they are bidden. And the fire sent from above to consume the hills and the woods doeth as it is commanded. But these are like unto them, neither in shew nor power. So like these gods that they're talking about, that Jeremiah keeps on cussing, because he is cussing them. He says they're nothing like the sun and the moon and the stars. That you don't worship the sun and the moon and the stars. You shouldn't. But these actually have a purpose. They serve a purpose. You've got a big golden statue that's doing nothing. Wherefore is it neither to be supposed nor said that they are gods, seeing that they're able neither to judge causes nor do good unto men. Knowing therefore that they are not gods, fear them not, for they can neither curse nor bless kings. So you have to understand all this shit, like, don't walk under a ladder. If you see one magpie, it's bad luck. If you don't let a black cat cross the road, keep a bunny rabbit thing. All of that rubbish, you don't need to be scared of. It's just nonsense. Neither can they show signs in the heavens or among the heathen, nor shine as the sun, nor give light as the moon. So even the heathen gods are nothing. The beasts are better than they, for they can get under a cover and help themselves. Yeah, if it is then by no means manifest unto us that they are gods, therefore fear them not. For as a scarecrow in the garden of cucumbers keepeth nothing, so are the gods of wood laid over with silver and gold. So the scarecrow, who's got all of this cucumbers in front of him, don't take some cucumbers home. He can't even consume anything. So are the gods that you put in all these offerings in front of. They can't take any of that. They preside over all these offerings, but they can't do anything. If you take them back, they don't care. They don't want them. They don't care if you take them or keep them or anything. And likewise, the gods of wood and laid over with silver and gold are like to a white thorn in an orchard that every bird sitteth upon, as also to a dead body that is east into the dark. I didn't quite understand that, but and ye shall know them to be no gods by the bright purple that rotteth upon them. So that's funny, isn't it? Like the purple, the symbol of royalty, rotting. You know that they're rubbish and that's fake. And they themselves afterwards shall be eaten, and shall be a reproach in the country. Better therefore is the just man that hath none idols, for he shall be far from reproach. And with that, it's a bit of a long one, but I just wanted to go through that. It's quite a funny thing. Jeremiah's got nothing but pure contempt, and rightly so. So yeah, don't be following other people. Don't be worshipping other people's gods. Don't be following other people's traditions. Don't look up to what they call the stars and the celebrities and stuff. Keep yourself separate and holy. Shalom.